So this is a 5 by 5 if I'm not mistaken. 5.5 by 5.5. Yes, a 5.5 by 5.5. I am using a 3.5 millimeter. If you want your garden square to be smaller, you can just switch your crochet hook to a smaller hook. If you want it to be bigger, you can switch to a bigger size, but I am using a 3.5. So let's get started. So if you made the top, you already know that I suggested that you use a 3.5 or 4.5 and a 2.5, sorry. So but for the skirt we are using something different. I used a 4 millimeter in this clip. I am using a 3.5 millimeter, which means my granny squares in this clip is smaller than the initial granny square that I used for the skirt. So I ended up using a 4 millimeter, but it's the same exact step. So if you're making a size smaller, instead of using a 4, you're using a 3, and if you're making a size bigger, instead of using a 4, you're using a 5. Starting off, we are going to make a slip knot and chain 4. After chaining 4, we are going to go into the very first chain we made with a slip stitch, and that is going to give us a tiny circle. And right after your slip stitch, you are going to go ahead and chain 3, and a chain 3 in this pattern is a double crochet. So you're going to chain 3 chains, and after chaining 3, we are going to go into the circle. Mine is super tiny, but right there you're going to insert 15 double crochets. So you're going to yarn over and go into the circle with a double crochet, and you're going to go ahead and do another 14 double crochet. So in total, plus the chain 3, we should have a total of 16 double crochet at the end of this first row. So you should have something like this at the end of your 15 double crochets. We are going to end off the row by going into the top chain. Remember we chained 3 at the very beginning, and if you look carefully, it does look different compared to the other stitches. So right into this very top chain, I am going to slip stitch to end off this row. And you can now go ahead and just readjust the awl by drawing your slip, this excess yarn that you have right there. I would suggest you count your stitches because you want to make sure you have 16. So count the amount of stitches you have now, because if you move to the next step, you are probably not going to be able to do that again. For 2, we are going to go ahead and chain 3. And again, remember a chain 3 is a double crochet. But right after the chain 3, we are going to chain an additional 1. So in total 4 chains. And right into this very next double crochet stitch, you are going to insert a double crochet. Right after, you are going to chain 1, and into this next double crochet, a double crochet. Right after, you are going to chain 1, and into the next double crochet, you are going to insert another double crochet. And this is what you're going to repeat for the entire pattern until you get to the very end of the row. And right here we are coming to the very end of the row, and this is what your work should look like. You are going to now go right after your last double crochet and chain 1, and right into this very top chain. Remember we chained 3 at the very beginning. The first 3 chains are a double crochet, but the 4th one we did is a chain 1 space. So you're going to count from the bottom 1, 2, and into the 3rd you are going to insert a slip stitch, and this is how you're going to end off row 3. The next row we are going to go ahead and chain 3. Again, the chain 3 is a double crochet stitch, and right into this first chain 1 space you are going to go ahead and insert 2 double crochets. So you're going to yarn over, go into that chain 1 space with 2 double crochets, just like that. Right after your 2 double crochets, we have a double crochet stitch. We're going to go right on top of that stitch with a double crochet. So you're going to yarn over, and right on top of it, you're going to insert a double crochet. From here on, you are going to go into this chain 1 space with 2 double crochets all into the same very space. Right after, into this next double crochet, you're going to go on top of the double crochet with 1 double crochet, and the next space is a chain 1 space, so you're going to insert 2 double crochets, and this is what you're going to repeat for the entire row. Right here, I'm coming to the end of row 3. You want to make sure that you're going into that last chain space with 2 double crochets, and to end off the row, you are going to be slip stitching into the top chain in the set of 3 chains. So you're going to go right into the top, just the same way you've been doing, and you're going to slip stitch, and this is how you end off row 3. Super simple. For row 4, we are going to go ahead and start making the corners for the square. So you're going to chain 5 to get started, and after chaining 5, you're going to skip 2 stitches. So again, you want to identify where your chain 3 space is, because that's your very first stitch. So right there is my first stitch. I am going to skip 1, 2, and this is going to be the 3rd space, so I'm going to insert a single crochet. So right there we have a chain 5 and a single crochet. From here on, you're going to chain 3, skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and into the 3rd you are going to insert a single crochet. From there on, you are going to chain 3 again, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and into the 3rd, insert a single crochet. Chain 3 again, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and into the 3rd, a single crochet. So we basically have chain 5, chain 3, chain 3, chain 3. So we have, after every chain 5, we have 3 chain 3s, and then skip 2 stitches and into the 3rd with a single crochet. So now we are going to repeat the first chain 5, so we can have another corner at this point, because we already have a corner at this end. So you're going to chain 5, and you're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and into the 3rd you are going to insert a single crochet. And just like that, we now have 2 corners on the pattern. From there on, we're going to repeat this chain 3 space pattern, chain 3 pattern. So you're going to chain 3, you're skipping 2 stitches, and into the 3rd you are inserting a single crochet, chain 3, you're skipping 1, 2, and into the 3rd a single crochet, chain 3, skipping 1, 2, and into the 3rd a single crochet. And we have 3 chain 3 space, which means our next stitch is going to be chain 5. So we're going to chain 5, and we're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and right into the 3rd we are going to insert a single crochet. And of course, now we have 3 corners, but we definitely need to do 1 more. So you're going to repeat this exact pattern until you get to the very end of the row. So right here, I am coming to the very end of this row. We are going to end off the row by chaining 3 after the last single crochet, and right into this very first stitch where we usually start is where you're going to insert your single crochet. And also, it's just the same as skip 2 and into the 3rd, because the 3rd does fall right into that same space. Right there you have your single crochet, and this is how you end off row 4. For row 5, you are going to go ahead and slip stitch into the first chain 5 space. So you're going to go into the chain 5 space with a slip stitch, and right from there you're going to chain 3, which is a double crochet on its own, and you're going to go ahead and insert 4 double crochets after your chain 3. So you're going to go into that same space with 4 double crochets. 2, 3, 4, and all together that is a 5 double crochet, because again chain 3 at the beginning is also a double crochet on its own. From there on, you are going to chain 3, and we're going to go back into the same chain 5 space with 5 more double crochets. So you're going to yarn over and repeat double crochets of set of 5 double crochets. and you should have something looking like this. From here on, we are going to go into this chain 3 space with a single crochet. So you're going to go right into the chain 3 with a single crochet, just like that. And into this next chain 3 space, you are going to insert 7 double crochets all into the same space. So you're going to yarn over and insert a total of 7 double crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. From here on into this next chain 3 space, you are going to insert a single crochet. And what we just did on this side, we're going to do in this next corner. So whenever you see a wider chain, that means that's chain 5. So we're going to go ahead and do the same exact pattern. So we're going to go into this chain 5 with a first set of 5 double crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5. And right after your 5 double crochets, you are going to chain 3 and go back into the same chain with 5 sets of double crochets, an additional 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like that. And from here, you're going to go into the chain 3 space with a single crochet, and into your next chain 3 space, which is this space, you are going to insert 7 double crochets, the same exact thing we did on the previous side of the panel. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and into this next chain 3 with a single crochet. And this is what you're going to repeat all around. So when you get to this corner, you're going to repeat 5 double crochets, chain 3, 5 double crochets. When you get to the next first chain 3 space, a single crochet, the middle chain 3 space, 7 double crochets, the next single crochet, and then you get back to this next corner where you're going to repeat the same 5 double crochets, chain 3, 5 double crochets. Do that for the entire row, and I'll see you guys at the very end. So right here, I am coming to the end of row 5. I will end off the row by going into this very first single crochet. I think that was a single crochet, I don't even know. We're going to go right into this space with a slip stitch to end off this row, and your work should be looking like this. This is such a cute pattern. From here on, we are going to start the next row by chaining 3. 1, 2, 3, and again, remember, a chain 3 in this pattern is a double crochet on its own. After chaining 3, we are going to chain an additional 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in total, we actually have 8 chains. Right from there, we are going to go into this very first chain 3 space with a single crochet. And right after the single crochet, we are going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and go back into that same chain 3 space with a single crochet, just like that. From here on, we are going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and right into this single crochet right here, in between these 2 sets, you are going to insert a double crochet stitch. So you're going to yarn over and go into your single crochet with a double crochet, just like that. From here on, you're going to chain 3, and into this set of 7 double crochets, you want to go into the middle, which is the 4th stitch. So right into the 4th, you are going to insert a single crochet. Right after, you are going to chain 3, and into this next chain single crochet stitch, you are going to insert a double crochet, just the same thing we did on this other single crochet space. So you're going to insert 1 double crochet, and so far this is what your work should be looking like. So we're basically making another borders around the square. From here on, we are going to go ahead and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And into this next chain 3 space, we are going to insert a single crochet, chain 3, and a single crochet. From there on, you are going to chain 5. And into this very first single crochet space right in between these two, you're going to insert a double crochet. After your double crochet, you want to make sure you chain 3, and into this first 7 set of double crochets, you're going into the 4th with a single crochet, chain 3. Into this next set of single crochet, you are going to insert a double crochet, and you're going to chain 5. And right into this V stitch again, this chain 3 space, you're going to insert a single crochet, chain 3 again, and a single crochet. So this is honestly what the pattern is made up of. So we have chain 5 at the corners, but then at the center right here we have chain 3s. So these are chain 3s, these are chain 3s, and these are chain 5, chain 5, chain 5, chain 3, chain 3, chain 5, chain 5. So that's honestly what the pattern is made up of. So I'm going to repeat the same exact step until I get to the very end. So we are coming to the very end of row 6. Usually after a single crochet in this space, you're supposed to chain 3 and insert a double crochet into the next single crochet space, right? And right here, this is our next single crochet space. But remember at the very beginning, we chain 3 first before we chain the 5, which gave us a total of 8 chains. So that chain 3 we did at the very beginning is this double crochet we are supposed to do now. So we don't have to do that anymore. So you're going to just chain 3 and right into this very set of 8 double crochet chains, you are going to go into the 3rd. So counting from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, right into the 3rd, you are going to slip stitch, and that is how you end off row 6. Super simple. From here on, we are going to go row 7. So for that, we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into this chain 5 space again. So you're going to slip stitch into your chain 5, and you're going to chain 3, which is also a double crochet stitch, and right into this next chain 5 space, the same space, you're going to insert 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that honestly leaves us with 5 in total because the chain 3 is a double crochet. From there on, we have a chain 3 space right here. You're going to insert 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and right after your 3 double crochets, you are chaining 3 and going right into that same chain 3 space again with 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, 3 double crochets. So right here we have 5 double crochets, and right into this chain 3 space we have 3 double crochets, chain 3, 3 double crochets. Into this next chain 5 space, we're doing the same exact thing we did on this side, which is 5 double crochets all into that same chain space. 2, 3, 4, 5, just like that. From there on, we have a chain 3 space. Into the chain 3 space, we are going to insert 3 double crochets. So you're going into that same space, 1, 2, 3 double crochets. So we have 5, 3. And into this next chain 3 space, we are going to insert 3 double crochets again. 1, 2, 3. So you're basically inserting 3 double crochets into your chain 3 space and 5 double crochets into your chain 5 space. And when you get to this single crochet V stitch, you're going to make sure you insert 3 double crochets, chain 3, 3 double crochets again. I don't know why that sounded like a tongue twister, but I'm just going to repeat this exact same pattern all around until I get to the very end of the row. Great. So this is what we have right now. To end of the row, all you have to do is find your chain 3 you did at the very beginning and go into the top chain with a slip stitch. And just like that, we just finished our granny square. I'm just going to grab my scissors and cut off the yarn, and I'll just chain one just so I can secure this. So from here on, you can go ahead and sew in your loose ends and sew your loose ends. So the skirt is worked in 3 different layers. For the very first layer, we will be needing 8 granny squares. So right on the table, I have 8. I'm just going to go ahead and lay this so I can attach this together. Because it's going to be a flowy skirt, we are not using our exact waist measurement or our exact hips measurement. You basically need no measurement for this. But you can see that my granny square is 6 by 6 because I ended up using a 4mm. So you're just going to go ahead and just align every panel, your 8 panels together by single crocheting each and every one across. So at the very end, you're going to have a long panel instead of having, you're not attaching it underneath, you're literally attaching everything across each other along the way. So when you have at the end, you're going to have a full panel. Again, it's not going to be your waist measurement because it's going to be a flowy skirt. So you can see that the first 4 is 22 inches, but we're doing one layer, which means the front and the back panel are actually going to be attached together. So the first layer is going to be 44 inches because we are going to have a total of 8 granny squares together, if it makes sense. So this is what your first layer should look like. After attaching the 8 squares, you can see that I still have my yarn hanging out because I did not take time to cut those off. So when you put this on at this moment, it's going to be wide, but again, we're going for a flowy skirt, so we're keeping the measurement like that. So you can see that it does fit around my waist, but at the same time, it's super wide. We will adjust everything later on at the end of the video, you guys will see, but this is what you should have now. So now you're going to go ahead and attach the 2 ends of that panel together so you can have a circle, like a whole panel instead of one straight panel. So you're going to just attach both ends together with a single crochet, slip stitch, or needle, whatever you want to use, so you can have a full panel. I have my first layer of granny squares. We are going to work a double crochet and single crochet row. So I have 8, and this is what mine looks like. I'm just gonna attach my yarn on one side of the layer. So I have 8, which means I have 4 on each side. So you just make sure you lay this flat, and I'm going to attach my yarn on one side of the granny square. And I'm just gonna make a secure knot. And from here on, I am going to go ahead and single crochet my way around. So I'm gonna go in there, chain 1, and into this very first, I'm going to insert a single crochet to this next, a single crochet to this next, a single crochet, and right there I have my next set of double crochets. I'm going to insert 1 single crochet each. So this is honestly what I'm going to do all around until I get to the very end. And when I get to my chain 3 stitches, I'm going to insert a single crochet because again, a chain 3 while we were working the pattern is a double crochet stitch on its own. You're just not inserting any single crochet in between each stitch, but you want to still make sure that you're going into every stitch. So when you have a double crochet, you are going to insert a single crochet, and when you have a chain 3, you're going to insert a single crochet. So that is what you're going to repeat until you get to the very beginning of the row. So right here I'm coming to the very beginning. I am going to go ahead and slip stitch into my very first single crochet I made, and from here we are going to do a double crochet row, but we are going to increase a little. So for the increasing, you are going to chain 3, and this chain 3 is a double crochet stitch on its own, and right into this next double crochet you are going to insert a double crochet. So right into this next, you are going to insert 1 double crochet. So we basically have 2 double crochets, and into the third, you are going to insert 2 double crochets. Into the next, you're going to insert one double crochet, and into this next, 2 double crochets. So you're basically alternating between 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches, and into the third you are going to increase by inserting 2 double crochets. So again, into this next double crochet after the increase, you are going to insert 1 double crochet stitch, into this next 1 double crochet stitch, and into this you're going to insert 2 double crochet stitch. So this is what you're going to repeat all around the panel until you get back to the very beginning. So to end off the row, you are going to go ahead and slip stitch into your chain 3. Remember we chain 3 at the very beginning, so right into the top chain you are going to slip stitch to end off the row. And for the next row, all you're going to do is just chain 1 and repeat a single crochet row. This single crochet row does not involve increasing or decreasing, it's just 1 single crochet into every double crochet from the previous row, and that is how we're going to end this first layer. So this is what, I don't know, for some reason my voice keeps breaking, like I say it just keeps breaking, I don't know why. But this is what we have so far. We are now going to attach the second layer to the lower parts, basically where we just, this is what I'm working with. So you are now going to go ahead and attach 10 granny squares together. Again, the first one was 8, this is 10, so we're only adding 2 extra granny squares together. And that's the reason why we did increase on the double crochet, so it can actually eventually, this will be able to fit. I don't know, so sorry about my voice. I don't know what I have. I think it's just because I live alone, so I hardly talk. So sometimes when I need to talk to you all, it's just like my voice needs to, I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, I'm going to also seal this layer so I can have a circle instead of just a full panel. And then when I have it sealed, all I'm going to do is I'm going to single crochet this to the lower part of the first panel. So to have a first layer attached to a second layer, we are going to grab the first layer and lay this flat. You want to make sure that when you're laying it, you're making sure that you have 4 granny squares facing you while the other 4 is on the table, flat on the table. And now you're going to grab your granny square, the second. So because we have 5 for the second layer instead of 4, you want to make sure that you align that 5 at the center of the 4. So basically right where your seam is at the first layer at the center, which is between the 2 to the left and the 2 to the right, that is where you're going to center your centerpiece on the second layer. I don't know if it makes sense. So basically where the edge right there, you can see that I'm trying to align the seam on the very first layer at the edge to the seam on the very first layer at the second layer. Sorry, I don't know, I keep missing my words. So you want to align your first layer to your second layer on the side first, because that is going to guide you. So right there I have excess yarn, so I'm just going to slip knot that so I can have that attached, and I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. And this is also just going to guide me to make sure that the very seam of the first layer will eventually be attached to this very seam of the second layer when we later on go ahead and single crochet those two together. So you're going to just use a stitch marker or yarn and fix that. Right there we have 5 for the second layer. Right now we want to make sure that the center of the second layer aligns with the center of the first, and to do that it's super simple. So we have 4 on the very top, which means the seam that we have dividing those 2 separate granny squares is the center. So now you're going to align that to the center granny square on the second layer. Super simple. So you're just going to grab a stitch marker again and do that. So you're going to mark that centerpiece to the seam area, and right after, all you're going to do is flip this over and do the same exact thing on the opposite side of the center. And again, this is just going to guide you to know exactly how to single crochet those pieces together, because if you do not do this, you might probably end up doing it might not look the way it should look. So you want to really take time to do this, and then from there on, all you're going to do at this point, we already have the other part complete. You're just going to attach your yarn to either side of this marked area, so you can do at the center, you can do at the side, it doesn't really matter. And you're going to single crochet or slip stitch whatever you've been doing all around. Yeah, I did break my stitch marker, but you're going to just go ahead and attach your yarn right there and single crochet all around to have the second panel attached to the first panel. And then we have like two layers. So right here we have a mini skirt. We are going to go ahead and just do the same exact pattern we did for the first layer. So remember, after the first layer we did a single crochet, a double crochet, and then a single crochet row, and that's the same exact thing we're going to do on the second layer. So you're going to reattach your yarn wherever you want to, and you're going to do your single crochet row all around, and you're going to do your increase, which involves a double crochet and then another single crochet row. At this point, the length, you can go ahead and also check the length just to see how long you want yours to be. So mine is 11, so one more layer is going to leave me about 15 or 16, which is a decent length. So if you want this to be longer, you're just going to continue to do layers, but we'll get back to that. But for now, you're just going to do the single crochet, double crochet, single crochet pattern until you have the layer complete as well. Right here I have my second layer and my third layer. For the third layer, all I did was just did attach 12 granny squares together, and if you've been keeping up, then you know that for the first layer we had 8, second layer we had 10, and then the third layer we had I have 12. So you're basically adding 2 granny squares, extra granny squares to each layer. So that is the reason why we also increase as we go, so we can easily just attach the third layer to the second layer, the second layer to the first layer. So now you're going to do the exact method. You want to make sure that you align those layers as well perfectly. So remember, for the previous layer we had 10, and for this layer we have 6. Yes, it's 5 on each side, sorry. So we had 5 on the second layer, and then on the third layer we have 6 on each side. So you're still going to find the centerpiece, and then you're going to attach that center to the centerpiece on the second layer. That is honestly super easy. And then you want to make sure that you seal that, and then go to the side, make sure you attach the sides to the sides, and then flip everything over and make sure you attach the center to the center. And that is how you're going to just single crochet everything, just the same exact step you did for attaching the second layer to the first layer, and that's it. After attaching your third layer, the next step is just to make sure that we have the skirt to fit, because it's obviously too wide right now. You can use a drawstring method for this, but I just go back to my favorite, which is an elastic band method. It works all the time. It's perfect because you can easily take this out, put this on. I just love it. So right there you can see that I'm just going to cut my elastic band to my desired measurement, which is going to be my waist measurement. So you want to make sure that you're taking that measurement in the unstretched form, because later on if you have to adjust this, then you can go ahead and do so. So you're just going to cut an elastic band to your waist measurement and make a knot, but you want to make sure that your knot is not so secure, because you want to later on readjust that along the way if you need to. But if you make it too tight, you might not be able to do that as well, so keep that in mind. The attachments, you are going to grab your working yarn, and I just like to attach that to the center of any part of the skirts, because right now we don't have a back or front, so wherever you decide to attach the knot of the elastic band is going to be the back, while the opposite side is going to be the front side of the skirt. So you're just going to go right there. You can see that I'm going through the crochet pattern and then underneath the elastic band. I've done this method so many times, so if you've seen my tutorials, you know exactly how to get this done. So right there you're just seeing I'm making my way to each stitch, making sure my crochet goes underneath the elastic band, and I'm going to grab the yarn and single crochet. You can use a double crochet, you can use a half double crochet for this method. You don't have to use a single crochet. So you're basically just going to take your time by going into every stitch on the skirt and make sure your crochet goes underneath the elastic band, and you're going to create a stitch. And that is how you're simply going to attach this elastic band all around the skirt, so we can actually have the skirt, the waistband, to fit us perfectly, and we are going to have the flowy end when the skirt is complete. And to seal this off, you just want to make sure that you're working your stitches up until you get to the knot. And this is the reason why I did say at the very beginning not to tie your knot super tight, because right there you guys can see I'm just readjusting the skirt, making sure you cannot see the elastic band into every stitches. So like you want to make sure that the stitches are tight enough, and then you can go ahead and readjust the band and make a secure knot now, because then you know you already have your desired measurement. So right there I'm just going to make a secure knot, super tight, just so it doesn't unravel when I have everything complete. And I'm just going to find my very first stitch that I made at the very beginning, and I'm going to slip stitch into it so I can end off the row. And I'm just going to cut off my ends, sew in my loose ends. I'm also going to sew in the elastic band just the same way you would sew in your loose ends by going into those stitches, just so I can cut off the excess elastic.
Para atrás por si nos arrepentimos. Si nadie es culpable, pues culpamos al destino con el